Sheriff's Department harassment right here. Armed deputies, chest cameras. I will not abide by a fictitious rule. I
was back there. I've been watching videos online lately. They're not the videos I made. They're the ones that Susan Bassi's been putting together online. And when you watch some of this stuff, you'd think I was pulling the strings behind everybody in this county, and there's this massive conspiracy, and I'm setting everybody up, and you know, it's disturbing to watch. And when you see that there's 10,700 subscribers on her account, now any of the players that are involved, none of these people even care. I mean, these are people that are more likely living in basements. They haven't gotten out very much in life. They're kind of stuck in front of a computer.
This is Susan Bassi, and this is Santa Clara County Sheriff's Deputy Officer Gomez. He broke my hand and violated my civil rights in that courthouse right behind him. And that has resulted in a federal lawsuit that the county is working very hard to make sure they don't have to pay out on. But my job on this day, 6 months later, was to record Officer Gomez and the other sheriff's deputies to see if they were willing to violate civil rights of other people, including my associates. Because if they were, that would be a pattern in practice of violating state and federal law. That would be something that would come under the jurisdiction of the California Attorney General. And it was recently announced that the Attorney General will be investigating the LA Sheriff's Department, when we in fact know that law enforcement agencies all over California are violating people's civil rights.
This is law-abiding activity. This is my First Amendment right to speak up against my government. It is not your opportunity to harass me, to intimidate me, to threaten me, to break me. We will not take your intimidation sitting down.
Long before I was aware there were people filming the police and putting the videos up on YouTube, I made this video. There were a group of protesters, about 20, across the street from this family courthouse, and yet there were several police officers who were gloving up. And this is Officer Ray. He was on the phone with what appeared to be a judge who was giving him orders that made him vastly uncomfortable.
Officer Gomez. Great, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yep.
From public records requests that I had made of the courthouse, I knew that the judges and the lawyers inside that courthouse were very upset about people protesting outside the courthouse. It was bad for business when people talked about judges taking their children or ordering them to pay too much child support. But the crowd was not threatening, and it had been moved across the street.
Abide by the order. I am on a city sidewalk. I will continue to protest family court. I am not doing anything wrong.
Officer Ray had in his hand an order that said that nobody would be permitted to protest on the sidewalk outside that courthouse. When those police officers left that courthouse and walked onto the sidewalk, they left their jurisdiction, meaning that it would be the San Jose Police Department that would be required to make the arrest. But police officers know that they are not allowed to make arrests on unconstitutional orders. And that is perhaps why Officer Ray was so concerned. He didn't immediately arrest the protester. He continued to pace back and forth. He continued to watch him. They followed him, 3 police officers, far more than we ever saw on any protester at the U.S. Capitol. And then Officer Ray got on the phone again, clearly uncomfortable with being ordered by Judge Patricia Lucas, the presiding judge, to make an arrest on a sidewalk outside that courthouse where he knew he had no jurisdiction. But the protester continued, and I happened to know this protester because he had done some camera work for me for a time. The other protesters stayed across the street until they realized what was happening, and then more of them started to come over and record the police. Officer Ray continued to call the judge, and then he grabbed the order, and he showed the order to the protester.
You don't want it. It's a fake, fictitious order from our presiding judge. It is unconstitutional. I have every right to protest family court. I have every right to fight for my daughter. I am doing nothing wrong out here. This is what is called Sheriff's Department harassment right here. Armed deputies, chest cameras. I will not abide by a fictitious rule. Nothing wrong. This is my First Amendment right. I have done nothing wrong. I am doing nothing wrong.
This is live.
I am fighting for my child.
Live.
I'm fighting for my visitation for my daughter.
I'm live on Facebook. Live on Facebook. Live on Facebook.
It was when those protesters came to the sidewalk and started to record the police that everything changed. It appeared the sheriff's deputy shoved the first protester, who was my associate, down to the ground. They then started to tell him that they were going to arrest him for resisting arrest. They were not interested in arresting the other protesters, only my associate. These people had been out there protesting the family courts. They were angry and they were hostile, but they were not violent and they were not engaged in criminal activity. So when those sheriffs walked outside of their jurisdiction onto a city sidewalk in the city of San Jose, where the San Jose Police Department has jurisdiction, they then violated this man's civil rights. They violated the oath, they violated their training, and they violated the Constitution in order to enforce a single order issued by a judge who didn't want us talking about what was going on inside that courthouse. And I could tell by the look on Officer Gomez's face he was very uncomfortable. He was violating somebody's civil rights for a second time, and this time it wasn't me, but it was my associate. All of those video cameras and body cams were picking up what the police officers were saying, and my associate was prosecuted for nearly a year. I got the police reports because he's also a witness on the day that Officer Gomez violated my civil rights and the district attorney decided to prosecute me instead. But what I didn't get was those body cams. So after a year, I finally decided to produce my videos to my associate's criminal defense attorney, and the criminal charges against him were immediately dismissed, and it was at that point that he had a civil rights claim against the county as well. But along the way to that civil rights claim, my associate decided to engage in conduct that was no longer acceptable. He attacked the First Amendment auditors on YouTube. He also did unlawful DCMA claims to take down videos in order to interfere with our business. And then he became verbally abusive and a physical threat to many of my other associates in a manner that could no longer be tolerated. And he also appeared to start aligning with the district attorney and the very police we were investigating.
Out there.
Scott.
And that poor San Martin rape victim woman, have you left her high and dry like you do all victims?
Really, Scott?
Jeff Rosen is going to have a heyday with you when he prosecutes you.
Really?
He needs to get a restraining order against you from going to any
No,
court or any
I wouldn't
meeting.
count on Jeff Rosen.
You are
or
a
anything
wreck,
you think he's
Susan.
And you're a
what
star
you've done
witness.
To people is horrible. I don't want anything to do with your criminal case. I think you're guilty.
Oh, okay.
I do.
Good.
That is not yours. That's right. They pushed him down to the ground. Why are you doing this? You're gonna come up with all of us.
I haven't done anything wrong, guys. She's okay to have my property. What have I done wrong? I didn't resist arrest. What are you guys going to try to keep standing right here?
Why did you push him down?
Admittedly, this day was very difficult for me to record. I had to record the police officers who had actually caused me harm and violated my civil rights. I had been watching these same police officers violate the civil rights of others inside that courthouse for a very long time.
Don't be silent! Sidewalk. This is ridiculous. I've done nothing wrong. You guys jump from mechanical bullhorns to my grandma's little small plastic bullhorn. I've done nothing wrong but fight for my child. And I've dealt with you guys breaking people's hands, slamming them to the ground. Your sheriff's department, you are the most corrupt people I've ever met. Everybody in this corruption is ran out of here. This is law.
I happened to know that the body cams available from this incident were provided to my associate, and yet he was reluctant to give them to me up until the time that his case was dismissed. I have been fighting for transparency in these courthouses for almost a decade, because it is in these courthouses where the greatest violations of our civil rights occurs, where judges are overstepping their jurisdiction, where lawyers are getting away with acting like criminals, and where there are no cameras watching. Because when we only have body cameras and security cameras, we don't have cameras pointed in the direction where we need to be watching, because it is there that we can really see what's going on.
Hi, my name's Susan Bassi. I'm going to file a police report. I need to complain about this document being a false document filed in court and under penalty of perjury, and it's a county employee. So I need someone who can take the report, and here's evidence of that, and I will give you whatever you need.
Well, I can't do it right here.
Well, last time I filed a police report, Mr. Winslow was super helpful to come out and take my police report and then quash it. So now I'm filing a report against a county employee for fraud, filing false documents in the court, and penalty of perjury, committing perjury in this document,
Okay.
and in case involving a district attorney employee.
Okay.
So this is a serious issue, so how do I report it?
You can call our dispatch number and then have a deputy come meet you.
I don't want a deputy come meet me. I'm here right now. Last
Okay, well, I'm
last
here
time they took the report. Why would you take the report one time when I come and
Sheriff's Operations Deputy patrolled it.
Law enforcement, including district attorneys in a county or a city, are responsible for not only making arrests, but for protecting victims and taking police reports. And if they do that selectively or with bias as well, that can be a problem in the county and can result in more violations of civil rights.
This doesn't get any worse. He had a effing silencer. A criminal dealing drugs had a silencer. I mean, you see that in the movies.
Sometimes patterns and practices of law enforcement or district attorneys who are engaging in misconduct is not always easy to see. We have to look for abuses in discovery motions and other issues that district attorneys do in order to protect police, violate civil rights, and fail victims. And that's what we will continue to do.
I just hope Jeff Rosen gets you out of this stuff and gets you away from all these people.
Mr. Stefan, would you like to discuss with me about your wife hiring a private investigator while you're the victim's claims manager for the district attorney's office?
Thank you for
And
asking.
Mr. Hammond, who was it that threatened you that you used as a card to get some sympathy from Judge McGowan this morning? And how is it that you're representing Mr. Stefan? Are you aware that he's in bankruptcy court and that he says he only has $100 worth of clothing? And Mr. Hammond, is it true that you're representing Mr. Stefan for free so that you can get part of a settlement from the county? That you've colluded with Judge Towery and others? Do you have a comment, Mr. Stefan? Mr. Stefan, you cheated taxpayers by having an affair with Netta Redmond. Were you having an affair with a subordinate while you were the claims manager for the district attorney's office? Mr. Hammond, are you having your client jaywalk in violation of the law? Mr. Hammond, are you encouraging your client to jaywalk?